Yo, what's good? Welcome to the first episode of Untold Storytellers. I'm your host, Uncle Dre.
Sharita.
You already know we're going in tonight. And look, our first guest, I had to crack this open with my brother, one of the coolest cats I know. Give back to the community, a good dude all around, man. And today we're going to find out the untold side of who he really is. If you don't know who I'm talking about, give it up for my man Botchey.
What up, y'all?
What's good, bro?
Bless, brother.
What's good, man?
Thank you for having
It's
me.
been a minute, dog.
Excuse my
You know?
voice.
How you feeling, bro? You looking good and icy over there.
Hey, man, I'm maintaining.
I'm trying to be like him. You know, my little shit look like a...
It's all good.
It's like something on his wrist. But yeah, man, so we're going to go ahead and tap in, man, get to know. Let's start with the toast first because I want to be welcoming.
Okay.
If you don't mind, let's toast. And we toasted, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Probably not, but
That's good enough. I'll take it. So, yeah, tell me about yourself, man. Like, where you from originally?
Botchey, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. My parents are from West Africa, so I identify as African. But, yeah, from Atlanta, South Side to be exact. I got my start with, if you don't know, I do brand curations for different liquor brands. Own 2 restaurants, been in the nightlife industry close to 20 years, promotions, advertising, marketing, done some radio, done some reality television back in the day, so well-rounded individual, so yeah.
Definitely. First of all, shout out to Mama Botchey.
Absolutely.
I love your mom, man.
Miss Mary.
Miss Mary, when I went over to Chris, she was like, "You want some food?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm just here to do my job and go."
That's the African way.
I love Mama Botchey.
That's the African way.
So what got you into the nightlife? Like what pushed you into it?
Man, to be honest with you, I guess at heart I was always kind of like the creative type. You know what I'm saying? I can remember as far back as middle school, like being in fashion shows and hosting talent shows and things like that. So I guess, you know, having that creative spirit and just being in a position where I love bringing people together, it became like a natural fit. But if I was to say what really got me started, my older brother, I got 2 older brothers, but one of my older brothers, he did his first party back in high school. He was a senior, I was like a freshman or something. And I was really just helping out. And this is way before, you know, the internet was a thing and social media and all that. So, you know, we were catching the bus and catching the train after school to catch the let out at other high schools to pass out flyers and things like that. So,
You know,
yeah, for me, it was just like, I thought it was just super dope what he was doing, and I just wanted to be a part of it. So, as I kind of, you know, transitioned throughout high school, I was just very active in a lot of things that people might have thought was like corny, but to me, it was just like, I love meeting people and bringing people together. So I was hosting the talent shows, doing the morning announcements, you know what I'm saying, cracking jokes over the intercom. That was kind of like my thing. But also I played ball too, so you know I was well rounded. But once I
basketball, football.
I did both. I did 4 years of football. Football was always my first love. I think I hooped for like 2 years, ran track for like 2 years. But yeah, once I got into college and I knew I wasn't gonna play football, I just gravitated more towards doing promotions. Yeah. And again, at the time, it wasn't like the thing to do. Mm-hmm. If anything, it was more like a family business. I got older cousins, they were also promoting. My brother went to West Georgia. I started off at Georgia Southern. I was in college with my cousins, so it just seemed like a natural transition to, I guess, stay in the family business.
And you stay in, You stand athletic. Shout out to my man Dex Flex, man.
No, for sure. I met Dex in college.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Savannah?
Yep, Savannah State.
Yeah, man, because when you shot me his information, man, I wanted the trainer. I didn't know I was going to get a drill sergeant.
Yeah, that's but he's great.
I got a little work to do.
Yeah, no, Dex going to get you right. Yeah, for sure.
Shout out my man Dex Flex, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we basically, when we started this podcast, the idea was to get the other side of what people don't know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And now I know a lot about you. We have personal conversations, but one of the things that I personally admire about you, brother, is I have a diversion program. You have one block at a time.
Yeah.
And tell me about that.
So, One Block at a Time is a community initiative. We started with the Book Bank Foundation. I've been a part of the Book Bank Foundation for about 8 years now.
Nice.
Served as the president. Shout out to Dr. Glenn Toby. But I met Dr. Glenn through my godbrother, Tony Jackson. And for me, I admired the work that they did with just giving back. Grew up in College Park, but I went to school in Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, the other side of town. So I always tell people this story when they ask, like, what made me want to be a part of it. I can remember, like, in middle school, even high school, I didn't have a car in high school. I didn't even have a cell phone in high school. But I never missed a party, never missed a game, never missed a pep rally. I was always active.
Was you on the MARTA?
I was on MARTA. So I would catch the bus from my neighborhood to the train station. And, back then, it went from Airport, College Park to North Springs. I went to North Springs High School.
So, you went to North Springs?
Yeah.
I went to Riverwood.
Yeah,
1 year.
That was our rival. So when you get on the train and you see the difference in the neighborhoods, like when I'm leaving my neighborhood, it looks nothing like how it does when I get to Sandy Springs. And I always kind of hated that. You know what I'm saying? It was like the grass was actually greener on the other side. So one of the things that kind of drew me to working with the Book Bank Foundation and doing the One Block at a Time community initiative was just wanting better for what my neighborhood looked like. Yeah. I had a coach tell me one time I used to play ball, is like, the first thing that you do in the morning, you should always get up and make your bed, sets the tone for your day. Mm-hmm. So when you get up and make your bed, then you leave out the house, if your neighborhood is, not up to par, like nobody ever has their grasses cut, bunch of dilapidated buildings, closed down stores, it's liquor stores on every corner, but you don't really have rec centers or things like that. Mm-hmm. Mentally, it can take a toll, especially on young children, because they feel like that's all the world has to offer them. Mm-hmm. So for me, just wanting to, even if it was something as small as like just picking up trash, that made a world of difference. So you should treat your neighborhood like you treat your house. And that's what my coach used to always say, like, it'll put you in the mindset of always being ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And making sure that you're sharp by the way you start your day. So, more or less, that's just what I wanted for my neighborhood.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the question is that people will want to know how does it go as far as being a promoter and dating women in the nightlife? Like, are women always coming at you, throwing themselves at you, or like, how does that go?
I think with any man, you have to have a certain level of discernment. Sometimes women do throw themselves at you, I guess.
Discernment.
Yeah, I don't, like, for me, being in the nightlife is like, I'm not going out looking for women when I'm in the club. Like, it's work for me. Mm-hmm. My first priority is making my money, and second, actually, I take that back. My first priority is making sure that the people enjoy themselves, because I'm somebody, like, I take what I do seriously. And then secondly, of course, making money. But
exactly.
Those are my two objectives going into it. Now, Atlanta's a place full of attractive women, so there are going to be extremely beautiful women around you, but, it's all about having discernment. I don't typically go for women in the nightlife, nothing against it. It's just more of my workplace. It's like, if you work in the office, you might have your work husband, but do you want to make a relationship out of that?
Right.
And then it has been difficult sometimes with dating women. With me being in the nightlife, I think it takes a certain level of security that women have to have for themselves.
Right.
Because being in the nightlife or dating somebody in this industry can bring about a lot of insecurities.
Right.
They might feel like they're always in competition with other women because they're always around you. But You know, if
And
you're
that's what I was gonna say, because you always, there's so many beautiful women.
Yeah.
Everybody's body is done. Everybody is beautiful. It's gorgeous women, you know, all around Atlanta. And so you being out all the time definitely takes, you know, a woman who's very secure,
Right.
you know, because you're out all the time. But I guess my next question would be, have you ever dated someone from, like, been in a relationship with someone that you met in the club?
Yes, but it was. I guess this was more of a unique situation. I dated a young lady who actually, when we met, she was working at one of our restaurants,
Okay.
and so we were friends. You know, we weren't dating while she was actually working there. That maybe happened however many years later. But she also had a regular 9 to 5. You know, she had a corporate gig, and you know, she would bartend on weekends. So it wasn't like her only source of income. It's not even really about a thing about income, but it was because she wasn't heavily invested in that career of hers. We didn't always have to cross paths in that setting, because
Right.
when dating somebody who does the same thing that you do, especially in the industry like being in the nightlife, it can be very messy, because so many people become involved in your relationship that don't need to be. And some of
Right.
these people, they aren't close friends, they're
Right.
customers. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh yeah, he dates this chick, she's the bartender, or
And
she's
that's
the bottle
easy.
girl, she's, you know.
That's easy.
Yeah. And also, you know, my personal preference is, if I'm gonna date somebody, I want to know what your interests are outside of what's just at the surface.
Exactly.
Because what you do get in the nightlife is it's quick. It's a highlight reel, right?
Yeah.
People put on their best clothes, you know, they get
Right.
their hair done, nails
Right.
done, you know, you
But
show
what are
your best.
what do you like through the week?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Right.
who are you?
What are you like, you know, up at night? Can we talk about life? Can I bounce ideas off of you?
Right.
You know, are you know, giving me encouragement? It's not just, oh, he's lit, I want to go out and kick it with him and have a good time.
How do you maintain
That balance.
That balance. How do you do that?
So I did parties all throughout college. You know, I started off at Georgia Southern, and I went to Savannah State. And so, you know, doing it then, it was different because I was a student. You know, so I would do my parties, you know, get in bed at a respectable time and get up, go to class, and go on about my day. When I came home from college, you know, Savannah and Atlanta is two completely different beasts. You know, the money's different, so the vibe is different, music, entertainment, cost, everything. So when I first started getting back into promotions and doing events in Atlanta, it was back to building my name up, building my brand up. Because in college, I was the man. You got people who have been in my line of work longer at this level than I have. So for me, it was like, I remember one year I was doing like six nights a week, and it was exhausting. Like constantly losing my voice, always had the hangovers.
Right.
And then, you know, you just get tired of it. You had to grind it out to build it up. And I didn't always make a lot of money. I think at that time I was probably hosting, maybe getting $250 to $500. And that was just being on the microphone. So for me, it's like, hey, I love what I do. It's not necessarily about the money, but if it takes me having to do 5-6 nights a week to make this $1,500 a week, then that's my grind. You know, do I want to go and put in 40 hours at a job and barely make $700?
Right.
You know, and I come from entrepreneurs. You know what I'm saying? That's what my mother was when she came to America. That's how my brother's always been. So for me, it was putting in the necessary grind to get to a point. At this age and having done what I've done for so long, I wouldn't dare do 5 nights a week.
Doing what you love, bro, that's one thing. Another thing, you know, you and I talk a lot. So you talking to two entrepreneurs, right? So we know what it's like to live off of our hustle.
Right.
And so when you're doing what you love, bro, I recognize, I'm going to tell you how I really recognize, and this is another untold story. I never told you this, but I don't technically remember when we first met. I just know that when we met, it was on.
Right.
And, and from then on, me and you been tight, right? But everybody, like one thing I pay attention to is when I mess with somebody, everybody got the same story, right? They like, yo, that's my brother, he cool. I'm like, damn, like he got a lot of family. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know his mama and I know his 2 brothers. She got some more kids. But my point is, man, like when you enter this lifestyle, right, the entrepreneurship, like we have legit services we provide, right? So how is it? What's real and what's cap? Meaning, like, when these dudes out here partying, what is the average night gonna cost the dude in Atlanta to really party?
Well, I'll say this. I actually had this conversation literally last night with a buddy of mine who's also been a promoter for a long time.
Okay.
And I told him, you know, at this age, we're closer to 40 than we are 30. Damn show super far away.
Closer to 50.
You know, even further away from when we were in our 20s. So I said to him, you got to understand that the demographic of people that you catered to when we were in college, they've grown just like you've grown, right? And so some of the things that you're into, they're into, and that's spending more time with your family, being at home, not having to be out. So it's like, it depends on the audience that you're catering to. Like, what I do for my personal fun is probably not the same things that the people that come to some of my events may do. So I had to figure out how to separate the two. And if I'm catering to this demographic of people, if I'm catering to this audience, or this club has this reputation, you know what I'm saying? It's layered. Like, for me as a promoter, I do my homework and I do my research. It's not like, yo, throw up a flyer on social media, hope people show up. You got to know, like, you know, what's trendy, what do people like? Like, what would you like if you were in that space? What are people pockets like?
That's a real promoter.
Absolutely, you got to know it. So when you talk about, like, what does it take to have a good time, it depends on what's a good time to you. You know, I got a lot of buddies, they're strip club guys. In their mind, if I'm gonna go out and pay $100 to park, pay $15, $20 on drinks, I would like to see some ladies in here.
And girls ain't paying for nothing.
With less on, right?
And Atlanta's horrible.
Yeah, so that's their thing. That's their thing with wanting to be in the night. I mean, you know, in gentlemen's clubs. When you go to a regular club, it's okay. Most of the clubs in Atlanta now, they don't have dance floors. Everything is section based.
Sections, right.
So average section may cost you on the low end $750, on the high end $2,500.
Shit.
So are you a section person? Are you somebody that's okay with being at the bar?
Yeah.
Right, and you know, I've done both as a patron.
That's fact.
So I would say the cap part of it is feeling like every time you go out, you have to have a section and spending $2,500. That's not always the case, because as a promoter, sometimes we have to build the illusion. So we might give away half the club for free just to put the bodies in there. Because if you come into a club that's empty, that's part of your entertainment, is being around other people and their energy is right? Because if I told you, yeah, you can go in this building and spend $250 on a section, but if nobody's in there, you don't care to be in there. And then you have sometimes, like, you know, when you have these artists or these influencers that are hosting, a lot of what you see at their table has been compensated. So they're not paying for that. It's not like the rappers coming in here buying up. That's a part of their writer. Back in the day, you would get some artists that would come in, they would ask for what they asked for and buy just as much of it. You know, because they wanted to put that look on. But now I think in terms of nightlife in Atlanta anyway, it's transitioning away from being a section culture to people wanting to just get out and have a good time and get back to dancing and, you know, play the bar, or I'll go to something that's a smaller venue. It seems more intimate and appealing.
That's what I'm on. See, like, now that I'm off the market, you know what I'm saying? I'm growing up, and I got my lady at home, and we hang out together. You know what I'm saying? And so, what is it like for you when you talking personal now? When it comes to women, what you looking for? Where you want to go with this? Do you want to settle down? Do you not want to settle? Like, talk to me. You know what I mean?
For me, I don't have any children. You know, I'm almost 38. My birthday's next week, actually. I do desire to have a family, right? But I'm also patient with myself, meaning that I want whatever woman I end up falling in love with, being with, for me to be the best version of myself, at least as much as I can control. And I also have to understand that my lifestyle is not for everybody. And, you know, she may want a traditional 9-to-5 person, and that's okay. You know, it's a lot that comes with being an entrepreneur. There are perceptions and narrative that you have to disprove and things like that. But I don't rush into anything. Because I know at heart, I'm like the boyfriend type. You know, contrary to belief, I'm like.
And I didn't think I was. My girlfriend is an entrepreneur, and she brought that side out of me. I mean, you know me for a long time. Boyfriend wasn't them. I couldn't be not. Boy,
but the right
boyfriend,
the right woman will bring that out of you.
Hey man, something about a woman to change your life, and you don't know how it happens.
Absolutely.
I personally associate myself with people, men and women who got something going for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard for you in the nightlife to really dissect, who really got stuff going for them or who really out here capping? Because when sometimes we out with dudes standing on a chair popping bottles,
but again, I've been doing this long enough to kind of like know.
Decipher.
And then the bigger part is I really don't care.
You're
or
right.
give a damn. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're here for this 2 to 4 hours to enjoy yourself.
Right.
Whatever problems you had outside of that door, when you come in these 4 walls, leave it outside and just enjoy yourself. I'm not trying to dive in too much into your life in here.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're in the nightlife, and so outside of that, far as like getting in a relationship, where are you meeting women at? Where are you meeting these women at?
Of relationships that I've had where I didn't know them from that side, I've honestly met them through friends.
Okay.
Because your friends probably know you better than anybody you would randomly meet.
Right.
So, and again, I have a lot of female friends, so oftentimes it's been, one of my homegirls introduced me to a friend of hers. She's probably talked me up so much to her, like, oh, he's like a brother to me.
Right.
He's a great person, this, that, and the third. So they already have a bit of an insight as to who you are.
Okay.
It's not a whole lot you and I can get to know about each other. We're sitting in the club and we're competing
Right.
with music.
So you would prefer to be hooked up with somebody than to meet them?
No, I'm not necessarily saying that. Sometimes it's not even a hookup thing. It's a genuine connection, or I can just genuinely meet you.
Right.
I met you through a friend of mine. It wasn't
Right.
like, hey, here's
Yeah.
Botchey. This is Mia.
Yeah.
Like,
I like those connections. Like
Yeah.
my girl
It
was
is
a
better.
client. Yeah, my girl was a client. So she spent the bag with me before.
Right.
Right.
Now I'm spending everything on her, but
absolutely.
she told me, she showed me she can hold her own. Is that a big thing too? I was gonna ask you that too. Like, is that a big thing? Like when you get with women, are they always like, I'm at the door, come get me? You know what I'm saying? Like
That's super aggravating.
It's irritating, bro.
Because here's another thing. This is something that I've struggled with. I think my approach to how I've been a promoter came from a very personal place.
Right.
It's not just marketing oriented. We're gonna send this out and press this button and boom, and draw people in. It's always been customer service first, right? Like, bro, I'm outside and blah. Okay, I'll go to the door and greet you,
Right.
and then walk me. I don't have to do that. There's a whole hostess there. That's what you
Right.
get paid to do. But in the same breath, it's kind of handicapped me in a way because that's what people always expect from you. So oftentimes, if I'm in the club, I'm not able to enjoy myself because people always feel like their entertainment is based on how much I can do for them.
That's so
hey,
funny.
Can you get the waitress?
That's so funny
Can you
because
find the hookah?
the last time I was there, I said, "Come sit down." You said, "I can't."
Right.
Yeah, you just told me that.
Yeah, I told him. I said, "Come sit down." He
Yeah, 'cause
said,
people
"I
don't
can't." And I'm
people don't
thinking to myself,
understand it.
Why?
Why?
But he gotta go to the door.
Wait.
He gotta go get
Stay
people.
on that. Stay on that. So why did you want him to come sit down?
I just wanted him to come and sit down.
And what?
I wanted him to come and sit down. And
No, but yeah, I
And
mean,
what,
no, I
relax?
get it. It's like sit down and enjoy yourself. But
Yeah.
again, like if you're going out, and it's like you're going out for just to entertain yourself. That's not my first reason of being out.
Right.
So you're not gonna see what I see.
Right.
You're not gonna know like, hey, all these sections were sold by me,
Right.
right? So their waitress may be slow, and now they're upset. So who do you think they're gonna text?
Right.
Me. Yo, bro, man, the waitress is not moving fast enough. Hey, my buddy's outside. They won't let him back in. So it's just like it's damn near like being a concierge service.
Yeah.
But that's how I've done it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
Because sometimes I've done events where it's completely outside of me, right? A couple of years back, I did this big weekend. We did a PBA weekend. It was Philly, Philly, Baltimore, Atlanta. And we did it at Compound Nightclub. Probably did close to 5,000 people that night, right? There's no way humanly possible I can cater to 5,000 people.
Right.
But when you're doing something on that scale, the event stands alone outside of me. And of course, we had a little baby there that night, and it was it was
What you
coming
do?
off.
Cut your phone off?
Huh?
What you did? Just cut your phone off?
no.
Well, no,
I
not
wasn't.
necessarily, but
That's why I know.
it's definitely screening calls. But I do have nights where I cut my phone off.
Yeah.
I'll have every conversation prior to that night to say, hey, if such and such is coming, be here at said time. And after that, you know the drill, my phone is off. But also, when you have that kind of money on the line, I can't afford to cut my phone off.
Right.
Because if something's happening at the door and it's going to, mess up the money, I have to be on top of it.
Right.
And so while I'm, grinding, somebody's pestering me about, hey man, you want a shot? I'm like, give me a second. Because like I said, this is work. This is a career. This is what retired my mother. This is what pays my bills. This is what takes care of friends and family when they in need.
So how do you control, when I say this, I mean it with an open heart. How do you control how you move? Because when it comes to people, like in my line of work, I don't like talking to people, period, because I own my company, right? And a lot of times people are calling me and bothering me about problems at this scale. And I might have an issue, or something on the table that's up here. How do you control that? Because, like, shout out to Boogaloo, but, I did the work at Boogaloo. And then when when you first started doing your parties, it was rare, but there were times where it was too much going on at the door, and I'd say, hey, what's up, bro? And I'm, you my brother, but I still want to spend the money, but I'm not spending probably half amount as some of the dudes spending. So how do you balance that? Yeah.
If I'm being honest though, and this is more on the personal side, I used to deal with anxiety really, really bad. Before, mental health was like a war cry for everybody, right? So I went years of dealing with panic attacks. I think I was on a Prozac for a while, which is like
I was on Xanax.
Yeah, so, and at the time it was hard for me to identify because I didn't know what a panic attack was. My parents didn't know nothing about that. My brother didn't even know. So once I got a handle of it, I started identifying things in my life that would cause anxiety or, would bring on the emotions of feeling like you're about to have a panic attack. And a big part of it was like being a people pleaser, right? And in my line of work, that's all I ever knew. It was, working the door and having to be in the DJ booth and being on the microphone and, having to go behind the bar and then people want to talk your head off about their personal problems. And I'm like, bro, I don't want to hear that shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But because they've invested so much into who you are, with supporting you, you feel obligated to always be there, right? And then, exactly, and so you're having to take all that on, and sometimes a lot of that, it goes home with you.
Right.
Even when you don't do it, I think, people don't understand that, like, you can go through various traumas in your life, and you think you're past it, but all we really do is just suppress it. And then it'll come out in, different avenues of your life. So the club, for me, was a big part of that. So now,
is it therapy for you?
It can be. It goes both ways. Now I've learned to not have to take on so much and put people in positions to where they can take some of that pressure off me. So if it's something as small as somebody wanting to come out and get into the party or whatever it is, hey, there's a door person there for you to, for them to do that. I don't have to take on that part because I'm doing so much in here.
My homegirl just gave me some advice because I did struggle with anxiety as well. I meditate more. I went pescatarian a little while ago and I work out with Dex. Shout out Dex Flex. But she gave me some game. I'm going to throw it to y'all and I'm going to let Sharita ask her a question. I know she's waiting. But she told me, thinking too far into the future will give you anxiety.
Absolutely.
Thinking too far into the past will give you depression. So
live in the moment.
Live in the moment.
You can't control. You can't worry about what you can't control.
Which brings me to your hashtag, party, power, purpose.
So, and one of the things is for me that I always work well is like I learned to find like my happy places. It'd be the smallest thing. Like I love music, right? I can spend the entire day. I won't cut my TV on. If I do cut it on, it's just background noise, or it's ESPN and that's just running all day. But I find those small subtleties and just different things, like just eating something that I really like once or twice a week, or playing my favorite record, or just riding with just no noise at all, and just being in my own thoughts. Because when you're in when I say volatile space, not saying that the club is violent, but it's a lot, so many moving pieces, right? And you meet some of everybody. Because one thing about anything you're doing that's celebratory, people always got a reason to celebrate something. You just got married, just got engaged, just got a divorce, now you're back single. Just got a new job, just got laid off.
Anything, everything, we celebrate.
It's always a reason.
Cheers to everything.
Right, so whether it's good or bad, because some people may just, come in here to drink their sorrows away or drown in their sorrows, or they don't want to live in the present of what's going on, so they want to get away from it. And you have to deal with all that, right? I have this thing like when I'm walking through an event, and it's like super crowded, right? I'll tap somebody, excuse me, brother, excuse me, sister, pardon me, king, or whatever, because I could step on that person's foot. I don't know what type of day he just had,
what he going through.
You don't know
and
what anybody
that was the
going through.
one thing that just sent him over the top.
Yeah.
So just being mindful of that, because people won't put that much thought into it.
We grew up like that.
Right.
I'm from Detroit. She from Flint. So like we had the whole stepping on the shoes thing back in the day. Like
and it turns into a big mess.
It turned into
When it doesn't have to be.
It don't have to be. And one
I
thing
like that.
At my age and understanding what where I want to see our people from here on out, I learned a long time ago is to pay attention to what I'm going through versus what he could be going through.
Absolutely.
Like in my life, I could be stressed out too.
Yeah, and in light of a lot of the questions y'all asked is, I understood way back when, and I always got this advice from my brother. He was like, yo, you don't want to be in your mid-40s still standing on couches for a living. And so I took the necessary steps to start preparing myself for what comes after being a promoter in this space. But I also dug even deeper in recognizing what it is I do for a living and having a certain respect for it. Because I know what the perception is, like, oh, he's a promoter, you know what I'm saying? But my bank account probably looks way better than what yours is doing, you know what I'm saying? Right. And it's not even a monetary thing. For me, it was like I fell in love with what it is that I do. It's it's given me great opportunities. I've done television from it, radio. I've been brand curator for Atlanta with Botchey for 4 years. I've been able to, co-own 2 restaurants. All that came from passing out flyers, hosting talent shows, being a promoter, and that's where it started from. So we just did our first festival. We did the Atlanta Jollof Music and Food Festival.
I remember it. I saw it.
Brought out close to 10,000 people. So the monetary side on that is amazing. I will offer up this advice just as clarity for us and whoever's listening or watching. We have to understand that the part that social media plays in society, we can't always allow that to be the narrative, and especially because I hear so many people say, "Oh, Atlanta this, Atlanta this," but it's some amazing, great things about Atlanta.
Definitely,
right?
It is.
So
Definitely is. That's why we all
I have
here.
a daughter, and I'm raising her here. I want her to see how successful Black women are in the city of Atlanta.
Right.
There's a reason why y'all live in Atlanta. Neither one of y'all were born or raised here, right? And we get a lot of that. And there are some bad things that come with that, but I think it's way more positive. So, just to kind of like separate the narrative to say like, what we see on social media, that's worldwide, that's nationwide. It's not just in Atlanta. Yeah. Yes, Atlanta is the Black Mecca currently, but there's still so much that goes on outside of the city. Right. But because you're living here, when you open up your phone and you see that, your perception is that it's happening at home. And that's not always the case. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think if we kind of put things in this proper context and understand it, then it's a lot easier to decipher. I get so many people that DM me like, hey, I'm moving to Atlanta, can you help me find a job? Or I need a job as a bartender or as a waitress.
Right.
And I've never, I don't know these people from a can of paint, but the idea of that's the way I'm gonna get my start. And that's cool, different strokes for different folks. Cause it could be a stepping stone for you, you know what I'm saying? But I've also seen the horror stories where people will move to Atlanta and they're trying to keep up with the Joneses and they get swallowed up. Yeah. And now you're just out here without a pot to piss in because what you saw is what you thought the reality of it was.
You gotta come with a plan.
Yep.
Right, I tell them that's my advice. Yep. That's my only advice.
Yeah.
Come with a plan and execute.
Yeah.
That's it. Because if you come here without a plan, you can have a couple dollars saved up and think you're gonna move here and figure it out, and you're gonna drop on your ass.
And you also gotta know who you are as a person.
Yeah. You need to know that.
Yeah. You gotta have discipline.
Yeah.
Because it's something to do every single day. It's a day party, it's a night party, it's an after party, it's always something to do.
For me, when I first moved here, and God bless everybody that opened their doors to me, I was like, they used to call me a mayor on Peter Street. Like, Peter Street, I promise
That's where we met.
That's where we met, exactly.
Y'all went crazy on Peter Street.
So we talking 04 when 255 was still a brick wall, right? It wasn't even the 2 windows in the front. Me and shout out to Karen Smiley, the owner of Slice. we put a bid in on 255. We were gonna buy that building. And like when I really say I put my work in on that block, people was calling me every time they come in Atlanta. They thought that was like
The place to be.
they thought that
The
Peter
place
Street
to
was.
be.
And so to me, it was my backyard. But I also watched, like you said, I watched homies who were back home getting millions of dollars coming down here going to Peter Street. They never saw that in their life.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, this is not even a portion of what you got
Right.
to really deal with. And now that I'm in a different headspace, I look at these dudes sometime and it's like, I'm gonna talk to what Sharita said. This generation, how do you help them? Because you can't tell them nothing. When you got young dudes making $60,000 a month and they coming and blowing $10,000 in the club and getting their way, it's like.
Well, so for a period of time, I used to talk to a lot of kids. Like I would go to high schools and middle schools. Like some of my friends, you know, they were either a principal there or a teacher, and I would always tell them like, you just got to know what's for you and what's not for you. And because this one person is able to do that, that's not realistic. You know what I'm saying? And it's not smart, to be honest with you. I don't care how much money you got. You know, nothing against, you know, gentlemen clubs. I'm there all the time.
Right.
But because this guy's able to go spend $2,000-$3,000 a night, that's not conducive for your
You can't live
lifestyle
like you.
living. You know, it's not even more so about living like me. Just, you know, you got to do what works for you. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, if I go out, it's honestly promotion most of the time. Right? But that doesn't mean that every time you go out, you have to, you know, you got to do like what the next man is doing.
But look, man, we're going to wrap up this first episode, bro. I appreciate you pulling up, dog. I love you, man. And that's another thing, man to man, we don't get enough of saying I love you, bro.
Love you
For real,
back,
for real.
brother.
And we have our individual conversations. Now you told us an untold story, man, and that's a wrap. Yeah, man, tune in next time. Till then, gang, Uncle Dre, Sharita, K. Botchey, Untold Stories, we out of here.